What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Travis RC. In the last video, you saw us get our shocks complete and turn this thing into a rolling chassis. Now, we install the electronics and get this thing powered up for the very first time. Stick around. Alright, so we're going to get started with bag end. Bag end is going to be our servo and speed control tray. It's going to be the receiver box. It's going to be the battery mount. It's going to be the mud guards, and then we'll get rolling with everything else here. Step one here is to take our ESC and servo tray and get the servo mounted up. So let's go ahead and open. The Nitro Pro JTP CT3 servo. I don't know what CT3 is supposed to mean, but so this is going to go in the car like this. If this is the front of the car, and per the manual, it would like the gear to be facing towards the center of the car. Let's go ahead and feed this through, and then we'll take our car, and we need to consider which way we want the wire to be going. Do we need it to go this way, or do we want it to come out the right side and go this way? So we'll go ahead, we'll get the servo secure here in its home. And we hand tighten. I'm kind of surprised that the tray for the servo here is plastic and not some sort of metal or aluminum or something. Alright, now we can go ahead and get this tray installed here. And I think we're going to put the wire this way for now, and we can always move it if we need to. Alright, it was incredibly difficult to get this tray mounted in here. I actually do not think it was the servo like I first thought. The holes did not line up very well with the chassis. After a lot of frustration, I eventually got all the screws basically kind of started, and then I slowly went down one by one. That's probably one of the more frustrating parts of this build, and something so simple. Then we just have these two button head screws that go through these two holes through the top, and they do get thread locked. Now we'll go ahead and we will get the receiver box going. I'm going to use two flathead screws from the bottom of the chassis. Alright, so that's step N1 and N2. N1 was getting the servo in the tray, N2 was getting the tray installed in the car, and it's not perfectly flush in there. There's a little tiny lip up here. I don't believe there's supposed to be. Fix that. Now step N4 is going to be our battery mount. And we hand tighten. All right, and hopefully we did this right. So let's grab a battery and test fit it. Here's one of our beautiful Gens Ace 4S batteries. Oh yeah, fits in these slots right here very nicely. Bingo, just like that. She ain't going anywhere. That is step N4 complete. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to step N5. All right, we are changing things up for step N5. We are not using the included mud guards. What we are using are these other Tekno mud guards that we purchased separately. These are the wide mud guards, side guards, whatever you want to call them. I believe these are the pieces that actually come on the EB484 2.2, which is this, but the nitro version. And the chassis, I think the chassis, but also the guards are wider to accommodate the extra things going on. You have an extra servo on there, extra weight, a clutch, all that. But we are putting these on so we can run the wider body, because A, I think it'll look cooler, but B, people I've talked to have said having the wide body actually makes a big difference compared to the skinny body that comes with the car. All right, it looks like these mud guards, side guards, are going to get mounted with 8 of these button head screws, and they all get thread lock. And we hand tighten. All right, step N4, our battery strap, and step N5, our side guards, though we're using the wide ones that go on the nitro buggy. That's all on. All right, now we are starting to get into the stuff that's going to make me nervous, and that's going to be, that's really soldering, which to most people no big deal. To me, I've done it once in the last 3 years, and it worked out great on the LMT build we did, and when we switched out battery plugs on the Mountaineer LMT we had. But now, I'm just nervous because it's all expensive and brand new, and I just want this thing to be as nice as it can be. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unbox our Hobbywing 1900 kV motor. The last couple days have been like in the low 60s, and I'm really excited because there is a very nice roast in the crock pot in the house. Smells incredible. All right, we have our 1900 kV Hobbywing motor here. Sensor cable. So now we're looking at step N6, and that is putting the motor on the mount. And it does not look like we need any thread lock for this, but what this entails is basically taking this plate, putting it on the motor a certain way, screwing it down. Now I want to make sure I orientate this in a manner where obviously our tabs are still available for us to solder onto. So this kind of is on slots, and you can slide this back and forth, so that's nice for setting your mesh. So I want to hold off on securing this all the way. I will go ahead and I will put the screws down and the washers for it though. So here's where we're at right now. We don't have a receiver in here yet. We should probably work on getting that next. So we're going to take our receiver, and I have some Scotch 3M Extreme double-sided tape. I may or may not use this on the ESC, but if I do, I might double up. I don't really know what I'm planning for that yet. I got to see what the mounting tape looks like that comes with the Crest 8 ESC, and we'll go from there, but I'll use this on the receiver. I'm going to clean the receiver and the inside of the servo box with a little bit of alcohol. I have no idea where that piece of tape went that I just cut. I mean, can you guys see it? Because I sure can't. Where did it go? Okay, well, I guess we're cutting a new piece. I'm just going to hold this on here for a minute or so. Press it down. And I want to make sure I know exactly how I'm going to put this in here. All right, what I actually did was I just kind of tucked it back here in this corner instead of putting it in the middle like I wanted to, because I want to have just some room for excess wire to be able to live and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly which inputs are for which functions on this receiver. It's not outlined really on the receiver at all. It says 1, 2, 3, 4. My buddy Combustion RC has said 1 to turn, 2 to burn, I believe. So I guess maybe we'll just plug it in there and see what happens. Alright, here it is. Ooh, look at that presentation. It's almost like you're looking through a glass window. So let's pull that off. Or how does this work? Props to you guys on your packaging, Coyote. Big props. Alright, so pull this out here. So it's got a power switch that is already wired up. Then this must be what goes to our receiver here. This thing is nice though. This thing is very, very nice. Like you can just tell the care and the build quality that went into this thing as that was being developed. Now, the one and only thing I don't like about this, I'll say it right now, it's the color. It doesn't go with our scheme. I can appreciate it's not neutral and it's their brand, but I wish there were other colors, you know? And then we have a glitch buster. I don't think we'll be using that. We do have a sensor wire, so we have one that came with the Hobbywing motor, but we have an extra also, so that's awesome. And then we have our wiring here. It looks like it's... The wiring's all pre-tinned. Oh, that's incredible. I love that, except we're probably going to need to shorten these wires because the motor and the speed control are very close. So we'll have to cut and re-tin one side of most of these wires. It does come with shrink tubing, and it does come with some 3M mounting tape, which might be what we have to use for now. Before I get too far in any of this, I am going to read the manual. Alright, I keep looking at videos about how to solder and all this and whatnot, and I'm just prolonging the inevitable. I just need to do it. So here it goes, I guess. Okay, this isn't going terrible. It's not impressive, but it will probably work. I think I could use a little bit more in a couple spots. Alright, here goes nothing. First wire. Luckily these are pre-tinned, but we're going to start with our battery wires here. That's bad. That's really, really bad. This is bad. This is very, very bad. Alright, next up we're going to take these 1UP Racing lockdown adjustable 5mm bullet plugs, and of course we got orange for our positive wire there. So let's go ahead and get these on the ESC. Alright, I finished soldering all of these up off camera, and the connections are good and everything, but I struggled for a very long time, and it was much more difficult than it should have been because I learned the hard way that don't just use the pre-tin that's on the tips of these wires. Cut it off. It seems like more of an industrial style application, and my soldering iron took well over a minute to get through it, and things got really hot. And don't use the pre-tin wire tips that come on this Crest 8 speed controller. Cut them off. It's not a very good move on their part, but it is what it is. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get the motor secured and get the pinion gear on. So, reading online, I learned that there is a trick for setting the mesh. Basically, I'm going to be running a 16-tooth pinion gear on this, and the trick is, just because I'm not as familiar with what a good mesh feels like, the trick is get a pinion gear that is 1 tooth higher than the one you want to run, put it on the motor, the pinion spur together, slide the 17 tooth off and slip the 16 tooth on. Don't move the motor from where it is, and that should do it for us. So we're going to try that. Alright, so we'll slide our motor out, and we're going to have the flat spot on the shaft of the motor facing this direction, and that's the way that we need to have our set screw, obviously, then. Alright, just kind of lightly finger tighten that, then we'll slide the motor over. Make sure the spur and the pinion connect, and then we are going to take our motor mount screws and thread lock them. Alright, our motor mount screws are thread locked and secured. Now we take the 17-tooth pinion off, and obviously the 17-tooth spur gear can be used for tuning down the road. We don't have it just to help us set a mesh with a 16. But speaking of the 16, we can slide that on, and we're going to put a small amount of thread lock on our set screw for the pinion. Alright, and I'll get that started in the pinion here, and then we'll slide it on. Alright, and I know you need a little bit of play between the two, very little, and there is. So I think that trick, using the higher tooth count by 1 and then sliding the pinion that you want to run on there, is the ticket. So our motor is completely fastened and secure, as is the pinion gear. Now all we need to do is mount the ESC and get that soldered up to the motor. Alright, so I think how we're going to do this is we are going to mount it this way. And I know our capacitors are facing out, but I'm not personally as worried about it. The wide guards should hopefully help out with that. I think it's just going to be the easiest way to mount this cleanly, or as much as we can. Alright, so I have some alcohol here, and I'm going to clean the ESC tray off with it, trying to make sure we get as good of stickage as possible. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom of the speed control. And we're going to use our 3M extreme mounting tape, and I think we're going to double up on this. Alright, so I've got my first pieces on here. Push those down really good. The reason we're going with this instead of like something like a 5mm Kyosho Zeal tape is that, well, I wanted to use the Zeal tape, but sometimes things take a week to get from A-Main Hobbies for some reason. Their shipping lead times are honestly garbage. But this worked for me in the Wildside LMT that you can see from a couple years back on the channel. Never had an issue with that, and I beat the shit out of that thing. Never had any issues. We're going to double up so that we have some cushion also, and hopefully this should do a good enough job for us in this application. Magic moment here. This magic moment. Try to push that thing down really good wherever I can. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but seems pretty solid to me. And obviously, after a little bit of time, that tape will set up more. So now that that's done, all we need to do is plug in our sensor wire, mount our power button, run the speed control to the receiver and all that. But first, I'm going to try to get these wires soldered up to the motor. Alright, and for this, I have the car propped up on a stand to make more of a level surface here on the tabs here. Alright, now that we have that, we need to go ahead and get the wires situated. And so they need to be cut. So we're going to do it like this, I believe. Alright, there we go. We got those. Now we just need to tin these up, which I'm a little nervous about because I'm going to have to do it over the car. So maybe I go at more of an angle here. Yep, that's the move. Well, they're not pretty, but they should work. So we're going to go ahead and try to attach our C to our C. We're going to use some pliers here because I don't want the wire short. I anticipate it's going to get hot somewhat quickly, and I don't want it to get hot and then let go of the wire, and then we kind of ruined it. So. Is it pretty? Definitely not. Could it be worse? Sure. But I guess what matters is the connections are solid. This is going to work. I just wish it would look prettier, but we know for next time. So I just plugged the ESC into channel 2 of the receiver. The servo is already plugged into channel 1. We have our sensor wire hooked up from our motor to our ESC. We've got our motor wires all soldered up, ready to go. ESC is mounted. There's only one thing left to do now, and that is to power this thing up for the very first time. I feel like I just built a brand new car from the ground up, like an actual car, and I'm about to fire it up and hope it actually starts. Alright, so first we'll power up our transmitter here.
Welcome to Noble Plus.
The receiver and the transmitter should be binded together already. So we have our transmitter on now. It's the moment of truth. 3, 2, 1. Battery's not plugged in. Alright, let's try that again. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Wow. The transmitter vibrated when we turned that on, and we can see receiver voltage, signal strength, all that. So theoretically, if we turn the wheel, ooh, the servo's moving, and if we hit the throttle, oh yeah. Alright, now that we know our electronics are working, our motor's turning, our ESC is on, the servo is spinning. All we need to do now is go ahead and get the servo actually linked up to the steering assembly, and then we just have to mount our power switch and just clean up any of the wiring however we need to. Put a wing on. We got to get our transponder on top of the receiver cover, and then we're pretty set. So we're going to go ahead and go to bag O. Pivot balls in the rod ends. Alright, now there is this, basically the screw. Both of the rod ends are going to go onto here, and they're going to be separated by just a millimeter. Even if that's not exactly a millimeter, it's really freaking close. Alright, now all we got to do is get this link mounted to the car. And first we put it on the aluminum servo horn here. And it looks like that is going to be done. It looks like that's going to be done with this screw that goes through the bottom here. One of the washers. The link. And a nut. Alright, now we put the servo horn on the servo, and I'm going to power the car up again, and I want to make sure that that servo is centered. I'm going to use my transfer. I'm just going to move the servo a couple times, let it come back, and just make sure it's in center. Alright, then I'll go ahead and get the servo horn on there. It wants this part of the steering assembly to be parallel perfectly with the servo horn. Getting this particular screw up through here is proving to be a challenge, and it doesn't really fit up there, and it looks like we just have to force it up there. Let's try that. Wazam, look at that. Alright, now we can go ahead and get the steering link assembled. Over this screw first, we are going to put a washer. Then our link can go, maybe. Let's see if we can back that down a little bit, actually. Alright, there we go. That works. And now we can try to push that screw back up through. As my bench light almost falls. There we go. And then our nut can just sit right on top, and our king is crowned. Alright, and just to make sure everything is good there, I'm going to go ahead and power up the transmitter in the car one more time. Alright, left is going left, right is going right. This doesn't need to be reversed, so that's nice. We'll worry about our endpoints and setting things up and all that later. But right now, just making sure everything is connected and works. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and take our transponder and get that mounted onto the receiver cover. So what we need is to grab our transponder here, and the 3 holes here should line up with these 3 holes on the receiver box cover. Alright, our transponder is mounted. Now we just need to go ahead and clean up some wiring and mount our power switch for the speed control. Alright, how do I want this power switch to go? Alright, so before I cinch down this other zip tie, let me go ahead and get the switch mounted. And we've got our switch mounted here. So let's go ahead and just clean up the wiring. Alright, I think we got our wiring buttoned up good enough here. Alright, we'll get our receiver box buttoned down. Alright, we jumped around bags N and O a little bit, just depending on where we were at and I guess how easy things were going. But bags N and O are done. Let's get those crossed off the board. One bag left! Alright, the only thing left now is bag P. Final assembly. Final assembly is the wing and the Velcro on the side guards and wheels and tires. Alright, Bag P. All right, so to mount the wing, we have these buttons and these countersunk washers here. So we'll put the countersunk washer into the button, like so. So this is very unique. There's a little slot on the side of the wing mount here, and it looks like you just have to put the lock nut in there. I guess getting it in there is going to be a little trickier than I thought. All right, now we just need to get our wing on and lock it down. All right, that's step P1. The wing is mounted. Right now there's just these hook and loop / Velcro pieces. They do have indentations on the side guards, one on each corner, where you can put those. So we're going to do that now. All right, we have Velcro pieces here on the side guards, getting ready for the body. There's really only one other thing that we can do for now, and that's to put on the wheels and tires. All right, let's get this thing powered up and check it out one more time before we call it a wrap.
Welcome to Noble Plus.
All right, so we saw our servo move, ESC fan is running, and we have a blinking light on our transponder, so we know that's working. And that servo is impressive. All right, and it looks like that is backwards, so we need to change the rotation. I'll do that in the speed control here. All right, we just went into the Cayote team app and changed our motor rotation and saved it. So let's see if that did it. And now we close the book on our first ever RC kit build. That's it. And as you can see, guys, the checklist is complete. We went all the way from bag A to bag P, and here it is, the Tekno EB48 2.2 build. It has concluded. We're missing one component. As you can see, that is the body. We have a lead finger racing V2 Beretta body getting painted right now, and that is a wide body that will match the wide guards here. That's getting painted by DRC Graphics. Make sure you hit them up on Facebook if you're looking for a fresh lid. The only other things that we need to do on this car otherwise are steering endpoints and whatever little settings that we need to do otherwise, like transmitter settings, ESC settings. We won't figure a lot of that stuff out until we hit the track. And we're also going to make sure we can dial in the ride height, the camber, the droop, all that stuff. And we just want to make sure the car is going to go straight and we have a really good baseline that we can build off of and make sure we get comfortable with. We're actually just a few days away from hitting the track here. I'm going to be doing a vlog style video that's going to come out that's going to show that. Before we do that, I'm going to be coming out with a video that shows the full reveal of this car with the body and everything. And I'm also going to do a review of the build itself and just kind of go over everything we did, everything we put in here, the pros of everything, the negatives of what we experienced, and there weren't very many. I really couldn't ask for much better for a very first RC kit than this. We made the right choice, and I've said it before, I'm very happy with the research that we did because I really feel like we got the best components, we got the best advice we could from the best people that we could find. Once we get comfortable with the car and if we don't do very well with it, that's okay, because at least we know the problem shouldn't be the car at that point, and then it's all on me to figure it out, right? As always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share this video, and most importantly, subscribe, because you're going to want to see when we hit the track, and I can't wait for that to happen. And now we're at this point, guys, it's my pleasure to say we will see you in the next one.